The two of them stared at each other for a long moment, Gary's fear and anxiety slowly being replaced with confusion. Dr. Quigley was an older man, well over 70. He'd been the chemistry teacher at the high school, and the only reason that Gary knew this was that he also happened to be his next-door neighbor. Or at least he had used to be. Dr. Quigley had died 5 years ago. "Gary!" Gary jumped, held the gaze of the old man for just a moment longer, and then turned and continued his journey to the front door. The old man didn't call him back this time, which was good. The voice of Shirley Jones was not to be denied. Gary hurried back to the front door, not wanting to keep Shirley waiting. But just as he reached the end of the hallway, he collided with something. That something was Shirley Jones. "Ow!" they both said at the same time. Gary looked up at Shirley, or rather down. She had fallen onto the couch. This in itself was a mistake, because every time Gary looked at Shirley, he somehow lost the ability to form coherent thoughts. "Why, yes, Gary, I'm fine. Thanks for asking," Shirley said. "Oh, no, it's okay. I don't mind that you ran into me. I accept your apology." Gary snapped himself out of it. "Sorry," he said belatedly. Shirley stood up slowly, brushing off dust and couch stuffing from her jacket. Shirley was one of these girls who was absolutely beautiful and yet despised almost every aspect of her appearance. "What are you staring at?" Gary shook his head and immediately stopped looking at Shirley. "Come on," he said, suddenly remembering. "Come here, I've got to show you something." He took Shirley by the hand, and before she could protest, he half led, half dragged her down the hallway, going towards the end door. He went inside, fully expecting to see Dr. Quigley standing exactly where he had left him. He wasn't. He was gone. And so it seemed were the books and Bunsen burners and all the chemistry scientific equipment that had been lying there just a few moments ago. The tables were now empty and, Gary was startled to see, covered with dust, as if they had not been touched for years. "What exactly did you want to show me?" Shirley asked. Gary looked around, looking for any other exit from the room. The room was fairly dilapidated, like the rest of the house, and there was really nowhere to hide anything, let alone an entire chemistry room full of stuff. "The library," Gary said to himself, and he grabbed Shirley's hand again and dragged her to the next door over. The books, he was relieved to see, were still there. At least the books on the shelves. The ornate desk that he had seen earlier that had fairly new science books was missing. In its place was a much older desk, with nothing on top of it but a few layers of dust, which was fortunate because Gary had a feeling if he even tried to set one paperback book on top of the desk, it would collapse. "Gary, what are you going on about?" Shirley asked, sounding irritated. Gary turned back to her slowly, trying desperately to avoid her gaze. "I saw Dr. Quigley," he said. "He was in that other room, just before I came to see you." "Doctor who?" "Dr. Quigley, you know, the old chemistry teacher from the high school." "Bergson, you seem to be forgetting that I'm not quite as nerdy as you, and therefore I don't know the names of the chemistry teachers at the high school." "He used to be my next-door neighbor," Gary said, "but that's not the point. I saw him, and he's dead." "You saw a dead body?" No, I mean he's supposed to be dead, but when I saw him, he was alive." "Okay, Gary, you're making even less sense than you normally do, and that's saying something. Do you have the pictures?" Gary reached into his pocket for the camera and handed it to her. Gary winced inwardly as he thought about what she was seeing. "Really?" she said, disparagingly. "Really, Gary, this was the best you could do?" "I was gonna take more," Gary insisted, but then I heard..." "Yeah, right, you heard the voice of the dead chemistry teacher, I know. Come on, let's get out of here." She turned and headed back towards the front door. Gary took a moment to take one last look around the library. Then he, too, sighed and turned around and followed Shirley out. A gust of wind had blown the front door closed, and so Shirley went to open it. She pulled. Nothing happened. She pulled again, harder. Still nothing. She beckoned Gary over, and the two of them together pulled as hard as they could on the front door. It wouldn't budge. They turned to look at each other. They were trapped. "What are you guys doing to me?" I started this tag game, where I tell the beginning of a story and I tag people to continue it. And the people I tagged were the other 4 members of the Shiny Happy Vloggy people. And I didn't choose them because they were the other 4 members of the Shiny Happy Vloggy people, I just chose them because they were 4 of my subscribers who I thought would actually do it. And it didn't occur to me until afterwards that they might try to make that this week's theme. Which is perfectly fine, except for one thing. I didn't tag myself, because I'm not a narcissist. But fortunately, Christi gave me an out in her Tuesday video and allowed me to continue her version of the story, and so that is what I have done. So, Nathan, I enjoyed your continuation of the story, and I hope that some people will also continue it from yours, because it was an interesting place that you were going with that. It's funny because right now I'm reading Inkheart. We've just arrived at Eleanor's house, which is of course full of books, and so I was reminded of that when you were describing the house. Christy, two things. One, what do you mean you can't tell stories? That was brilliant. That was really good. I really do. I think you sell your creativity short. You did a very good job with that. I was impressed. And the second thing is, you're leaving. That makes me a sad panda. But I understand the whole thing with grad school. That takes up a lot of time, I know, because I'm doing it myself, and so I completely understand, and I hope that that process goes smoothly and easily for you. And also I hope that you will take Marky up on his suggestion and make Saturday videos, because I will miss seeing you on Tuesdays. Something troubling seems to be happening to the Shiny Happy Vloggy people. First, Jordan left the Friday slot, and that eventually led to me subbing for her. And now Christy's leaving, and the person that will probably be subbing for her is also a male. And so this channel started out with 3 girls and 2 boys, and now has 4 boys and 1 girl. Caitlin, you are not allowed to leave! And by the way, Caitlin, I'm sorry that you have the flu and other things, and I hope that we see you well again soon. Okay, I think that's all I've got. I think I'm gonna go inside because it's getting kind of cold out here. Marky, never did see your 30-second video, but I hope to see you tomorrow. And as always, stay shiny and happy. Bye-bye. Oh wait, I almost forgot to tag people. Alright, the original video was a Vlog Driver video, and I tagged 4 Vlog Driver subscribers, and so this time I'm going to tag 4 BandGeek8408 subscribers, and so I am tagging Macadol, Leximus Maximus, I Am the Bookie, and Galaraloth to continue this version of the story. And I hope I pronounced your screen name right. I don't know if I did, but I'm sorry if I didn't, but it's you. You're tagged. Bye! You are getting very sleepy. Very sleepy.